to the first part of that experiment in the chat, by the way.
That was a good demo, Bob. That was a great demo in the vehicle. And like I said, when you did the first part, I think you're going somewhere.
Maybe.
It's probably a good thing people do go against the scientific consensus, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't even get anywhere in science, would we?
Well, of course. I mean, the questions are what drives science forward.
For trying, you know what I mean?
It's not a matter. It's not a matter of hammering people down for trying. It's a matter of hammering people down for making wild ass claims without something backing them up.
Right, but they're only wild ass claims to you at the time. You don't know for a fact that they're actually wild ass claims. You're just assuming they are because they don't fit this consensus, right?
I think that Sean's got a point there. You know, when I first started in this, I knew the Earth was spherical and it rotated. I mean, I just knew it. But when people sit down and say, well, what's your proof of rotation? Well, what is it? So, you know, I had to go back to school, so to say, and say, okay, well, this, and this all clearly show that the Earth is rotating. But, you know, I just couldn't pull that right off the top of my head when I first started doing this. I had to actually go look.
I know, it was fun, right? To go back to school on that shit.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. I'm getting ready to start trigonometry again.
Well, it's the same way as when you can't rely, you know, I mean, normally if someone said, oh, how do you know the Earth is round? I go, fucking pictures from space. You know, and I can say, and then I realized that the only evidence I can give is anecdotal evidence of how it works in communications and how I've hooked stuff up to satellites and how I know how far they are. But that's not something I can demonstrate to a third person. So I had to take a step back and think, how do I demonstrate this? You know, not using space, even though that really is the best singular piece of evidence that we actually have. We've gone up there, we've looked back and gone, fuck, it's round. Oh shit, it spins. You know.
Yeah, I see. That's real talk.
what I'd like to thank is a lot of the guys like you guys, like Bob, and that with the videos that you put out and that I've been sharing on my channel. That a lot of the experiments and observations and explanations, I've learned so much in the time period that I've been on YouTube and set up my channel. I wouldn't be where I am today for what I've learned.
Shit, Grim, you probably Grim's probably the only one here who's actually seen the progression of my experience. Man, I couldn't even imagine how much I've got stuck in my freaking head now.
Hey, sure, I remember you when you were an idiot.
I don't know if he was actually an idiot, but he wasn't.
Like that dress?
It don't change, Sean.
Look, I was just saying because out of everyone here, Grim's I think is the only one that was here when I got here. So
we don't refer to them as idiots. We refer to them as confused.
I thought intellectually challenged was acceptable.
Or bamboozled.
All right.
Uneducated. That's all social hammering, though. That has nothing to do with
or uncertain.
It's because I was using it against Sean. Grim.
Uninformed.
I know. I know it's a joke, right? It's kind of a joke, but I mean,
but there are some that I do use that too seriously.
Yeah,
I mean, Grim, think of it this way, Grim.
Yeah, when I disappear, it's gonna be your fault.
If I came to you and I said the universe is made out of mice, we live on a giant mouse. That's actually the ground is just one big mouse. Would you think I was kind of like out of my head unless I could provide you some sort of evidence?
I would first ask you, what's your definition of mouse?
The little animals.
Yeah, I mean, then we'd work from there and deduce.
So just automatically you would be invalidated because you said the little animals. That'd be a big animal.
My first piece of evidence would be for the mouse is we have the wheel.
Yeah,
and obviously that's something that mice like, and that's why we have the wheel.
But my point being,
can a mouse exist in a vacuum and live? And I just
I think we're losing the analogy here a bit.
Yes.
Work out the details in a heartbeat, brother.
Yes, I can further the wild claims and say yes, mice can live in a vacuum. They just choose not to do it on Earth because they don't have to.
Right.
See, but that's what I'm talking about. If I'm making a claim that goes against everything that's already been established by science, then shouldn't I have some sort of evidence backing it up before somebody takes me seriously?
Well, I take you seriously.
I wouldn't say no to that. Absolutely. I mean, if you're referring to an electric universe, then you're not, because that's not the case at all.
I'm referring to people that just blindly say, no, that's not it. I don't know what it is, but that's not it. Those are the people that I have issues with.
I say the same thing about those types of people. Yeah, I agree 100%.
Is the gentleman who was speaking before about having done all the experiments, is he still here?
What's that?
The gentleman who said he did all...
I believe that was Barney.
No.
I got questions about the Cavendish. I've done the I got questions. He's here.
Okay, you talking about me?
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't see
you said you did the Cavendish. You didn't see gravity. You did the Foucault's pendulum. You didn't see rotation. Did you see precession in the Foucault's pendulum?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have any hypothesis, theory, wild guess as to what was making that happen?
Well, I've done the Foucault pendulum. I've done it hundreds of times, and I've seen precession different every time. So if I move it, the pendulum, if I've done it of different hours on different orientation. So what I've done finally is an experiment with two pendulums, right? So while one pendulum is going to the right, the other one is going to the left. But in 8 minutes, which I made the experiment, in 8 minutes, one is going 3 degrees to the right, and the other one is going 6 degrees to the left. So it cannot be possible that the Earth is spinning on 2 directions at the same time. So
how did you release those pendulums?
Oh, wait a minute. How long were your strings on both pendulums?
Yeah, I think we need to know some of the details of the how it was set up.
2.7 meters.
Not long enough.
Not long enough, no.
So do you know? Do you know there is small pendulums like they are pendulums made by some factory for university proposal. So they are like 1 meter tall.
Models of pendulums of the pendulum. As far as Foucault, they're not. That's not Foucault pendulums. They're not that short.
Yeah, they need a full swing.
You need 20 meters.
But
not 2 meters.
Anyway, there are people. There are people who made it the Foucault pendulum on 2 meters high, just 2 meters high.
2 meters will work if your weight is heavy enough to compensate for the displacement.
The original Foucault's pendulum was 67 meters.
No, it was 32 meters.
And another thing is, we had a 4-story high stairwell case, right, in our high school in Milwaukee, Pulaski High School, and we did this experiment in that stairwell case. So that was, and the kids in the next year, the freshmen also did that experiment again, and some of us who were skipping school, skipping lunch. I mean, a period.
I'm telling.
I know. We went back and saw that experiment again. Now, I don't remember if it was exactly the same, but I do remember that, everybody was, convinced. You know what I mean? Like, it was many years ago. So I don't know if the timing and everything was exactly the same. I don't even know if they measured that so much as to just which direction that it went over time. So, and in 1 hour, it didn't move very much. It did move in the same direction both times. I don't know what it could be due to, but I'm just saying that's repeatability in a much more. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to get 15 degrees at the pole, and you're going to get a lot less at the equator.
0 at the equator, and they rotate clockwise in the northern hemisphere.
But I got the experiment on my channel. But anyway, there is no gyroscope experiment on YouTube. There is no gyroscope experiment made by any university detecting the Earth rotation. The gyroscope is working on the equator, is working on every place on Earth. So there is no gyroscope experiment detecting the Earth rotation. And Foucault did it 2 years after the pendulum in 1854, I guess. Foucault did it with a gyroscope without wheel bearings, without electrical motor. Was a string gyroscope, and he detected. So there is no original Foucault gyroscope. They're just a replica, and Foucault and nobody repeats that experiment. And 1857 here, I guess.
Every ship
Foucault did it with a gyroscope.
For fuck's sakes, even flat earthers have
wheel
successfully
bearings,
repeated that
without
experiment.
Chris
electrical
Berry did
motor.
it. Wait, no, I'm talking about the same one. Never mind.
Yeah, I mean the gyro compass works, and it works, and it has utility, and we use them regularly.
Now the gyro compass is like a horizontal, artificial horizontal. It's not a free gyroscope. So
it's a gyroscope. It's a gyroscope on a gimbal with a weight to make the gyroscope run perpendicular to the plane. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, but anyway, the gyroscope is a more precise device than the pendulum. So the gyroscope was invented by Foucault just 2 years after the pendulum. So every university is doing repeating the Foucault pendulum. They got a propulsed pendulum with an engine on the top, with a electromagnetic engine, but no university have repeat the gyroscope experiment. Why?
You're just making unfounded claims, buddy.
I would like to know what the bearing drag was on your bearings you used for your gyroscope.
Every aircraft directional gyro will precess because of Earth's rotation unless you've got it balanced properly.
Every ship, every decent sized ship has a gyro compass on it, which will process automatically to the rotation of the axis without any adjustment.
Every ship over 500 tons gross, I believe, is required to have it.
I looked into building a mechanical gyro on ball bearings, and the bearings are going to cost me more than the gyro.
Well, gyro compasses aren't suspended on ball bearings.
Well, no, I got questions. So that's what he used. I want to know what the drag was on them bearings.
Too much.
Well, yeah, because it didn't work. So we have to look for, if we've had observations of working before and in your experiment it didn't, we go back to the method to see where you deviated from the method, to see if there's then an introduced problem into the experiment that we weren't expecting. You know, ball bearing drag is an excellent suggestion. I'm not saying it's right, but it's something I would investigate.
When I went through the math on it, even if I got high-end ceramic bearings, there's still going to be too much drag to watch a mechanical gyro process.
That's why they hang them from a torsion wire.
Hence Foucault putting it on a bit of string or whatever he did.
Yeah.
And you don't need a motor to power a Foucault's pendulum.
No, you do not. You need a motor if you don't want to have to go down there and restart the damn thing every 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
That's exactly. Oops, I unmuted the wrong thing. I'm not muted. Okay, I was gonna say, yeah, we didn't have a motor either, and either one of the times I've seen it.
It'll show it will show what happens. It's just that you're going to have to restart it periodically.
It dies down. Yeah. It just
my favorite one was when I was at uni. I didn't see this, but this was the reported scuttlebutt on campus. Was the physics professor was a keen archer, and he used to use his archery release clip as a way of releasing the mechanism to make sure that there was nothing induced into it by his swing. And I thought that was quite clever.
Cigarette lighter and fishing line works.
That's pretty
That's
cool.
what our
actually. I
teacher
like that.
used.
That's a totally reliable way.
Yeah, that's what our teacher used. It's a piece of string, had it all pulled back, and then burn the string.
Yeah. The string can only pull it directly in line with its support.
Yeah.
The thing that constantly gets pulled into this discussion is it's hard to perform these experiments right. It is hard to construct a precise apparatus enough to detect these effects. It is hard to measure the 50 million to 1 ratio of masses, right? Yes, it is hard. It requires a proper setup. It requires proper rigor in constructing your machine. When we talk about machining, yes, it's really hard to produce blocks, measurement blocks, which are accurate within 1/10 of a thousandth of an inch or 1/100th of a thousandth of an inch. But we do those things, right? People devote their entire lives to do that one thing. Now, when you say that I did not reproduce Foucault the way he did it, yes, I did not dedicate my life to measuring rotation and to researching how rotation and momentum work, and I did not devote my life to finding how to best eliminate these forces. Right? I know how it's done in some experiments, such as the Cavendish experiment, where the way to eliminate it is also the way to measure it, and you get to extremely high precision by statistics, by seeing how much the oscillation of the pendulum deflects if you introduce these things. And yes, there are, like, you can fuck it up very easily. You can fuck up the experiment very, very, very easily. It is a hard experiment to perform. However, when you fuck up the experiment, you get meaningless results, like what I Have Questions was talking about, the Foucault's experiment. If every time you perform the experiment, you get a different result and you have no idea, then you're not controlling your experiment, and your experiment is not being precise enough, then you're fucking something up. Once you start getting consistent results, once you can repeat the experiment so that you get a consistent result, then you can do something with that result. While you're just getting noise, while you're just getting scatter results, you're not being careful.
Hey, Barney.
Yeah?
You saw those videos the other day. I was wondering, do you have any significant criticism of them?
The only one is your misapplication of the direction of the acceleration. You identified when you accelerated forward, you said you're accelerating back, and when you accelerated backward, you said you accelerated forward.
Well, the force is going backwards, though, is it not?
Nope.
Okay. So what's the direction of the force on the Earth? Or what's the direction of the acceleration on the Earth?
Up.
Okay, so basically that's the difference. I'm viewing it as accelerating downward.
Yeah, I know. It's the same thing with the what is it? The centrifugal force, right? If there is a force and if there is an acceleration, and you have a device which measures it, you cannot have it flipping one way or the other as it seems fit for you, right?
Well, centrifugal acceleration goes away from the direction of gravity, does it not?
Nope.
Mm.
There is no centrifugal acceleration. That's the whole point. The real frame of reference is the inertial frame of reference. When you take an accelerometer and put it in your car and accelerate, it will show the acceleration in the forward direction, right? If you put it on a carousel, it will show the acceleration towards the center. And when you put it on Earth, it will show the acceleration upwards. Right? When you put it on a falling object that we assert that we're measuring as accelerating, it will show no acceleration.
Correct, because it's going with the acceleration downward, is it not?
It's not going with the acceleration. It is in its own inertial frame of reference.
All right.
Right?
So I'm going to have a look into that a little bit more. I may be a little bit confused about that as far as, how I view things, how I view the directions of acceleration. Because my view is exactly opposite of yours, and that's more than likely incorrect. But, I mean, it's a very workable view to me.
Right.
I don't know. I'll have to look at it a little bit more.
What's this, Blue?
Thanks, man.
Hey, Blue, what you got?
Yeah, I know. That's what I was asking. What is it?
That is
so. Just to clarify, when you're in a car, if you're measuring from the reference frame of the accelerating car, then yes, you detect an acceleration backwards, right? Because that object is trying to remain in its inertial frame of reference. When you're in, yes, but that's from the frame of reference of an accelerating body.
Yes, exactly. So if I'm sitting in my car and I'm accelerating, I feel the force driving me backwards, correct?
Yes, but that's not a real force, right?
Correct.
That's
an
illusion. That's an illusion. You cannot measure that force, right? You cannot when you take an accelerometer and measure the force is forwards and the acceleration is forwards because you put the gas pedal down and you're accelerating forwards. Your car is accelerating forwards. Because
I'm going to have to have a look at that. I'm going to have to have a look at that because I feel an acceleration going backwards when I'm in a car and I'm moving forwards. I know the car is moving forwards, but I'm trying to stay back. Something's trying to hold me back. And that's my inertia.
That's the thing of measuring within an accelerating frame of reference. If your frame of reference itself is accelerating, then from that frame of reference, the things which are standing still will seem to be accelerating in the opposite direction, even though they're experiencing no force, right?
Yes.
Mm.
Right? And the sinker is going to deflect backwards when I accelerate.
Yeah. In the car, there is no force pushing you back. The only force that's really acting upon you is your seat pushing you forward.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. So why does the sinker move? What's pulling it? What's pushing it forward?
Nothing. It's trying. It's inertia. It's trying to stay the same. It's trying to stay in the same position.
Is my body not doing the same thing?
Yes. There is no force there. It is trying to stay. It is trying to maintain its inertial position.
But the seat, the parts of the car that you are in contact with are applying a forward acceleration to you.
Exactly.
Okay. And you can't look at it as me applying a backwards acceleration to the seat.
You really can't.
Okay. Well, maybe I have a misunderstanding of that, and that wouldn't surprise me a bit. I don't have the amount of physics that you have in me, but I do know what I feel.
I know it's like it is slightly counterintuitive to think of it that way because we are used to measuring things from our position. And when you measure things falling down in Earth's gravity, you're measuring as though you're
It's the old is the glass half empty or half full question. It's like, are we in the process of putting more in it or taking more out of it? Because
I have an answer to that. The glass is twice as big as it needs to be.
Yeah, that's a good.
I like that answer.
I remember that.
I think I understand what's going on with this. I think I understand it well. I don't think that I'm describing it properly, though. I think it's a problem with my description.
I was going to add to the glass conundrum.
Sorry about
that. You put water into the glass, so you keep filling it up. So obviously it was only half filled.
Well, it depends on if you're drinking or pouring is another answer.
That was what I said.
Yeah, but the water had to get in the glass in the first place.
Oh no!
Well, what if you just dumped the glass in the water though? See? No. How's that?
That'll work. What do you got going, Blue? Want to walk us through this?
Yeah. Well, I'm showing you centripetal acceleration. There it is. And it's toward the center. The acceleration is toward the center. The force, if you were sitting on that rotating little platform of mine, let me go back to the demo. Okay, here we go.
You just rubber band your phone on there upside down. That's all.
Yeah,
so you're saying mass gets drawn towards the center.
Nope. Nope. It won't get drawn. If those bands weren't there, you know which direction the phone would go.
Oh yeah.
Intuitively, you know which direction the phone would go. But now look at which direction the acceleration was in. It is not outward. It is inward. That is centripetal acceleration. Graphically displayed. That I'm pointing at right there is actually the rotation. You see the red trace. You see the acceleration when I start to rotate it, and then you see the deceleration at the other end when I stop rotating it. The green line is the centripetal acceleration, which is fairly constant.
Basically, what is holding the phone to that platform is supplying a force towards the center to keep it from flying away.
What that's showing you is what happens to the force vector when you make it bend in what you have to do to the velocity vector to make it bend in a circle. You have to have an acceleration toward the center to bend that vector.
And that's one of the indicators that gravity is not a force, right? If you take the attractive gravity of a string when you spin something around, the tension in that string is a force pulling things to the center. If you put an accelerometer at the end of that string and spin it around, it will tell you what the force is and which direction it is acting it to spin it like that, and it will point to the center. If you take that same accelerometer and put it into an orbiting body, it will show no forces, right? But if you try to stop something in its orbital motion around the Earth, then it will show an acceleration upwards. If you hold it still on the surface of the Earth or in a position above the Earth, it will show you an acceleration upwards, counteracting its inertial movement.
All right. Well, then let me see if I can get this. Let me see if I can make this a little clearer in my mind. When I'm sitting on the taxiway there in my car, gravity is pulling that sinker straight down, and the air is displacing the balloon straight up. If I tilt the front of the car up so that it's up at 45 degrees, so the front wheels are at a 45-degree angle to the back wheels, I will feel the vector of gravity going back, and the sinker will be heading back, and the balloon will be heading up towards the windshield, correct?
Gravity is not pointing down, it is pointing up.
Okay, but I'm talking about in the car. If I bring the front tires up 45 degrees, the sinker will go back and the balloon will go forwards towards the windshield.
Yes.
And that's the exact same thing that occurs when I accelerate it. When I accelerate the car in level.
Yes.
Okay. So I've got the concept right. I've just got the vector of the damn gravity wrong.
Well, let me show you something else interesting.
Again, it depends on whether you're talking in respect to an inertial frame of reference or within the coordinate system of the car, of the inside of the car itself.
I'm dealing with in the car itself.
Yes, and then you will get those apparent forces in the opposite direction, but again, you will not be able to measure those.
Okay.
Well, you notice on that little deal I did, which direction I was spinning that telephone, that accelerometer in the telephone. And that direction, that spin was absolutely perpendicular to the gravity, the acceleration of gravity, right? Because I'm spinning it horizontally.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Yes.
Let's look at something interesting. What do you think happens if I spin it now vertically?
I reckon it'll go towards the center still.
Well,
perspective.
I think you're going to see something. I think you're going to see something many people don't expect, and that is you're going to see the centripetal acceleration adding to and subtracting from the acceleration of gravity.
That's exactly what we would expect.
Yeah.
I was just going to say.
It's interesting, as Jaron would say.
Yeah, interesting, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do a particularly good job of controlling the speed of this silly thing. But I did spend upwards of 15 minutes cobbling this shit together. So what do you expect?
You didn't lose the phone at any time when you were doing through the experiments, did you?
Nope. The phone is still operating to this day. Now compare that to the trace we were looking at previously.
Wow, is that going both ways or something?
That's right.
Well, now you're seeing two things. You're seeing the rotational vector of the platform itself, the red trace, varying around 0, right?
At the top of the rotation.
Yep.
And at the bottom of the rotation, you see.
Yep. You see them adding and subtracting.
Yeah.
A really
That's
nice
kind of
example
like
of
the
it,
idea of Wall Thornhill's electric gravity about the orbital path of the electron being longer at the top.
I wish I could show a video that I found on YouTube the other day. That to me, it's related to this, but it's somebody else's video, so I don't know how I can. I could get the link probably.
There's no way to explain what you just saw without another acceleration being involved. Mr. Riley can argue all he likes. The gravitational acceleration is there. It is present, and it is provable very easily.
I agree with you. Well, guys, I got to go work on a video. I'll be on and off.
I'd like to see Riley explain the vector of his relative disequilibrium.
I'm sorry, but relative disequilibrium has superseded science. Its buoyancy is the current science now.
I'll put it in the side chat so you can have a look because I can't play it.
I gotta go buy some shit for a baby shower. It'd be fun. A lot of fun shopping to do. So.
All right, get that baby clean.
You heard me. All right, fellas.
Congratulations on whoever's having the baby.
Oh, grandkid. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, the poor bastards.
I'm getting my first grandchild is due on Valentine's Day.
Oh, congratulations! I think you know exactly how it feels. What I'm going through.
Yeah, I'm stuck at 5 at the moment. I don't know if I'm going to get any more.
Dude, I watched that video just the other day. That thing is fascinating. I've seen that.
Yeah, I liked it too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just fascinating. The tennis racket.
Yeah, and further on where he tries to explain it, like
I mean, it really is fascinating. I've seen that on the ISS, and I was trying to figure out why I kept flipping like that.
Yeah,
that was a good explanation of it.
Oh, the wing nut.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that last night. As a matter of fact,
that's a great video.
Yeah, I seen it as soon as it came out, and I thought, oh yeah, I'm grabbing that.
As it's Veritaserum, and I know they're very keen on copyright strikes, I think I'd rather we didn't show that.
No, that's what I thought, Alan. I'm learning about that now.
There's some channels who, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter if you are, if it is fair use or not. If they give a strike, it just makes life hard for you. So sometimes it's just easier not to go there.
Yeah, this bullshit of weaponizing DMCA has got to go.
Well, unfortunately, I had to miss a great deal of what went on today. I had something I had to go do. What did Mr. Riley have to allow? I really wanted to get on here with him.
It's not a force.
He just wanted to argue words again.
Semantics, as usual.
Yeah, they wouldn't let me on when he was on there, man. I kept trying to join, and they wouldn't let me on.
I got a different way where Riley comes on and says, "Well, Einstein says it's not a force. Therefore, you have to invalidate it entirely." That's that old bullshit.
I've got an immediate question for Mr. Riley. Show me where Einstein said those exact words.
Oh, Bob, the best one.
We know what I mean. We all know it means that. But where did Einstein actually say gravity is not a force? I've never seen that.
I don't think he does.
I don't either. And I'm going to shove that one up Riley's ass next time I run into him. If he can't provide a citation for it, stop fucking saying it. You can say George Muser says Einstein said, but you can't say Einstein said it. Unless you can come up with a citation. That's his fucking game. We'll play it.
I'm still waiting to find out the vector of his density shit.
Well, I want him to tell me what he thinks the dimensions for little g are. What are the dimensions of little g?
I'm still waiting for him to tell me how he can invalidate all of physiology because causal chains aren't real.
Yeah. Yeah, I was there for that conversation.
Oh, I can't get the thing going.
Guys, I got a question here.
Go for it.
Do we know the cause of the gravitational force?
Unicorn farts.
Yeah, do you know the cause? Do you know the cause?
Sorry, go ahead, Jules.
Do you know the cause of the buoyant force?
What force?
The buoyant force.
Force.
Buoyancy. What's the cause of that force?
It's the same. It's the gravitational force.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
All right, but what is the cause of the gravitational force?
Our current why it matters if we know the cause.
So we don't know the cause.
No, you tell me why it matters. We know the cause. Why is that an essential bit of information to understand gravity?
No, what is matter is recognize the truth. So if
your truth is you haven't been able to do the Cavendish experiment. You haven't been able to do a Foucault pendulum. You haven't been able to do all these things, so the Earth is flat and stationary. Thank you for trolling. See you later.
Well, I'm almost curious.
No, I've done those experiments. So Neil deGrasse Tyson just says that we don't know what gravity is.
Did they work? Did they work?
Yes, I think they work. So what do you mean if they work?
Did you get rotation of the Earth? Did you get
when you do an experiment, you just see the results. You don't expect to get something.
Well, I agree, but every single one of them you've not been able to do. And then you come on here and you say the Earth is flat and non-stationary.
Yeah, I've done. I've done the experiment, and I just publicized the results. That's my work. My work is not to prove anything. It's
Tell me
just
how a gyro compass works.
You're doing your job well.
Anyway,
how a gyro compass works.
I don't know if I done it well or not.
Okay, until you can tell me how a gyro compass works, you haven't disproven rotation.
No, Bob. I've seen some of your videos, and you just talk about the gyro compass, but I don't know how it works. Can you tell me how it works?
Well, if you've watched the videos, I told you. Why don't you go look it up in Wiki right now and tell me how a gyro compass works?
And then something to add to you. I got questions right there. Have you ever taken paracetamol?
Sorry?
Tylenol? Have you ever taken Tylenol before?
What is that?
Paracetamol.
Acetaminophen.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Have you ever taken any drugs before from your doctor?
Why are you asking me?
Because I want to know if you know how they work.
No.
Shall
Look,
we discuss the mu receptor?
For example, Bob the science guy asked me if I know how the gyro compass work. I told him I don't know. I've seen his videos, but I didn't get it. So,
okay, and then I suggested that you go look it up right now.
I'm trying to explain a little bit to you right now. I got questions. Do you know? There are drugs that we use on an everyday basis that we do not understand how they work.
Lithium, for example,
is the mechanism of action of Tylenol, the mechanism of action of lithium, and several other drugs. We have no idea how they work, but they are incredibly effective for what we want them to do.
Okay, so what's the point?
Does that take away from their usefulness or the fact that they actually do work? Does that mean that those medicines are useless?
No, I didn't say that. I just asked the Bob the science guy how the gyro compass works. So you don't want to explain.
We're going to back up. We're backing up to your base question. Do you know what causes gravity? Honestly, it doesn't matter because we don't know what causes them. We don't know what causes the effect of these drugs either. But they work.
All right, no problem. But there are many people, not saying every people, they say we know the cause of the gravity.
We have a theory on it. So what is your point? What is your point then? Do you recognize the fact that there is a thing called gravity? Yes or no?
There is a force which attracts objects with mass.
Okay, so you admit that. Now the implication of that is if you have a very large body, what will that force pull it into what shape?
No, because I don't know if that force is a mass attraction. I think it's not, because
that it is a force.
You just stated that it attracts masses.
There is a force, because if you
this
get...
guy's here just trolling us. I'll see you guys later.
Have a good one, Bob.
See you, Bob.
Take care, guys.
If there is
I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
What color is the atmosphere?
The atmosphere.
What color is the atmosphere?
I don't know.
Fair enough.
That's probably the best answer
kind of a trick question,
so far.
wasn't it?
Huh?
So that was a bit of a trick question.
Not really. Well, yeah, sort of, but not really. It's a measure of responses.
No, but it's the truth. I don't know the color of the atmosphere. I see the atmosphere transparent, but when I look up, I see the sky blue on the day.
Okay,
when I look,
you actually got the question right in the first bit of there. It is essentially transparent.
Right. But I really don't know the color. Maybe it's got a color, but I don't know.
No, you had it correct to start with. The color of the atmosphere it hasn't got one. It is transparent.
All right, could be. I don't deny it.
But during the day there are effects that make it appear to be blue.
Yeah, it could be.
Okay, and that effect would not really happen with a small and local sun.
Why?
Think about it. Well, first, why is the sky blue?
I don't have an idea.
Okay, then at this point, I'm not going to educate you on that one.
But anyway, in my model, there is a dome, a glass dome.
Okay, that's fine. There are other issues with that.
So it could be because of the dome, but I don't know.
What color is the dome?
Know.
If that's the case, what color is the dome?
Sorry?
What color is the dome?
Well, if it's a glass dome, it should be transparent, like
I hear
any.
a lot. I hear if. I'm not asking if.
Well,
Does the dome have mass?
Guys, I've got to ask. I've got to step in for IGOT's defense here. I'm sure that English is not his first language, so could we please slow down and give him time to digest what we ask?
Yeah, no problem.
Because the questions.
I'm letting him take his time.
Well, it's just that some of the people are speaking quickly, and it's sometimes hard to understand the words when they're spoken very quickly.
Oh yeah, he can ask for me to repeat. I don't mind.
The main thing, if you're speaking to someone whose English isn't their first language, and certainly if they're not from your culture, avoid using metaphors. Speak slowly.
Yeah, speak slowly. I speak Australian too.
Yeah.
And I'm from Texas, so I talk slowly anyway.
I heard there are only two things that come from Texas, and I don't see no hooks on you.
Trust, you know the history of that joke?
I know it was in Full Metal Jacket. That's where I think I got it from.
Yeah, it's because of the two major universities in Texas history: the University of Texas, the Longhorns, and Texas A&M, the Aggies, because they were an all-male school.
I like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's nice to find stuff like that out.
Hook 'em horns.
Yeah, let's get back to the topic. So, I don't think he's claiming that the dome is any particular color.
But he claimed that it exists.
What I am interested in is how he knows it exists, or whether it's just something he thinks that might exist.
Yes, correct. That's my question. How do you know that this dome exists?
No, actually, no. I know nothing. I just know nothing.
You made a claim. I'm sorry, man.
No. Again, don't assume that English is not his first language, and that's unfair.
No, I didn't make any claim. I just got theories. I don't know nothing. So.
I got it. If you say I know that there is a glass dome,
I didn't say I know. I say I think.
You did actually say you know. That's why I was waiting to chip in, but that's
no,
fine.
I say in my model, which is the concave Earth, there is a dome at 100 kilometers high, right? So there is on my model, but I don't know if my model is the ultimate truth. So it's just a theory, right?
So why do you suspect there is a glass dome?
Sorry?
What is the reason for you having a glass dome in your model? What's the justification for adding it to your model?
Well, I really don't know if it's a glass dome or it's some energetical dome or something, but the clues that are making me to think this is the trajectory of the shuttles. They are all bending before reaching 100 kilometers high. So by the other way, in my model, we are inside of a sphere. So in order to the air, the atmosphere, not getting the celestial sphere, not getting higher, you need a barrier just above the Earth to keep that area pressurized.
Oh, there's so many questions. So many.
So I'm just going to follow up on it quickly, Erebus, unless you want to take it on. I think we'll probably get the same questions. So.
I just have the clarification question. Did you say you're not a flat earther, you're a concaver?
So I really am not either concave or flat earther. I'm just a free thinker. I'm seeking truth. So when I believe they are lying to us when they say that we are on top of the ball, just flying over the universe. So I just got theories about how could be. So
why do you believe that you are being lied to?
Well, because the clues that I'm getting every day, it's just going the other way that the official is saying, right? So
So that can point to two things. That can point to either you're being lied to or you're misunderstanding something about what's being said. And in my experience, the second one is prevalent even with me, right? A lot of things about science that I assumed were correct and that I assumed were so, especially in learning from documentaries and popular science books and stuff like that. My conclusions about what it must be saying have turned out to be wrong. I had the wrong intuition, right?
yeah,
The thing is,
you could be right.
the thing is that when you have such a doubt, you go and explore. You seek truth, as you say. You try to find out what is it, what they're really saying, how does it work. You put in the legwork to learn the maths of it, to learn what are the ins and outs of it, and then you constantly and consistently find that, oh, look, this actually comes out right, and this actually comes out right. And yes, our body of knowledge is consistent with itself. The things which appear to be paradoxes and contradictions, if you just use layman terms and layman understanding, like the thing that was really bothering me was the twin paradox in general relativity. It seemed impossible to be resolved. But yes, when you figure out how it actually works and where the things change and what all the parameters are instead of just time contraction, time dilation, you figure out that it works out perfectly to describe what we see and what we measure.
And especially when you work out there are two types of time dilation as well, which really also fucks me up. Ugh. Sorry, don't want to think about that. Yeah, just going back to what you were saying. What was the last clue you got taking you in this direction, Igor?
Well, like tides, for example, there